There's going to be Natalie Rauch. I'm going to read her bio. She began her life as an Air Force brat in Selfridge Air Force Base, Michigan. Her father was an F-4 pilot whose aircraft was lost over North Vietnam in 1966. Colonel Warren Anderson is still one of the unaccounted for service members. Natalie spent most of her school-age years in Sumter, South Carolina, and after college, Natalie taught middle school and high school math for 13 years. She married Harry Rauch, who had recently finished 4 years in the Navy, and then he worked as an Army chaplain for 29 years. Natalie is now a surviving spouse after losing her husband to cancer. She continues to serve military families through her volunteer work in the Hawaii Garrison Chapel community. Natalie.
It is such an honor to be here, and when I look around this crowd, I see, I mentioned Sumter, South Carolina. I have a friend here, my brother's friend, who I haven't seen in, I'm not going to tell you how many years, but since high school, and I am so honored to have him here. I have Christy Weiss, who I'm just meeting today for the first time. Her uncle, Albert Trudeau, was recently identified by DPAA, and he's going to be buried at Arlington on March 11th. And then I've got Julie and Oliviera Payton and her family. Their father has his name on the Vietnam Wall. And Sharon, I lost track of where you are. Sharon, her brother is on the Vietnam Wall. I'm going to try to pronounce it. Ralph Falk is her brother. And then most importantly, my dad flew the F-4. It was a two-seater. So I've got my dad's co-pilot son right here as a guest today with his wife, Yayoi. And both of our dads are two of the unaccounted for. And so it just is a reminder that we are all connected. Everybody here, all the people that I've talked to in the last 3 days, and all the people I can't wait to meet in the next 4 days. So thank you for this opportunity. It's really a blessing. So I wanted to talk about addresses. Like if you think about an address, it's usually where a home is. And the address tells you how to find that house. And you kind of have to learn I've been here 11 years. You kind of have to learn your Hawaiian vocabulary, and I'm still working on the pronunciations of all the streets, but my GPS gets me most places. But an address tells you where somebody lives. But my dad, he has 4 addresses. He is remembered in Arlington Cemetery at Memorial Section H, Site 271. He's remembered on the wall in DC, Panel 6C, line 135, and also on the wall that heals right behind me. And he's also remembered at the Court of the Missing right here in Honolulu at Punch Bowl on Court A. If you're facing Lady Columbia, he's on the left side. But the thing about all of those addresses, that's not where you send a letter. That's not where you go home and eat Sunday dinner. Those addresses are all just a memory, and I'm hoping someday, I don't know, that our dads will be found. And if they're not, I've already made my peace with God that it's okay. Now don't tell DPAA that, because I want them to still be looking. So I wanted to tell you that I have a letter that my dad wrote my mom after he proposed to her, and it's dated 4 August 1955. And he said, "Did you ever think what it would be like to be a jet pilot's wife? This flying game is not the safest occupation. And a pilot's wife sometimes has to be very patient and very brave. Think it over real seriously and then give me an answer. Okay, sweetheart?" So I'm standing here as proof she said yes. And my dad is Colonel Warren Leroy Anderson. He flew the RF-4C in Vietnam, his aircraft, and along with James Hale Tucker, and then his son is also James Tucker, was lost on 26 April 1966. Their aircraft was never recovered, and if you hear there are 1,566 still unaccounted for, then that includes my dad. So my mom raised 4 kids on her own, and I was 8. We were 8, 6, 5, and 2. So Ken knows my brothers who were 5 and 2 at the time. I'm the oldest, and yes, that means I'm a little bossy. So it's been an honor this week. Can you believe that our dads flew out of Shaw Air Force Base in South Carolina? Guess what? That's a long way from Capillet. And so when we PCS'd here in 2014, there's my dad's co-pilot's son, and of course his mom, Glenda, who's 83 and still kicking. And it's just been an honor to live here on island with them, because we are now family to each other. So on Tuesday, we got to each carry our dad's panel and put it up into the wall that heals, and it really was a very, very moving ceremony. So I just want to tell you one more story, but I also want to say, you guys see gray hair, but inside I'm still that 8-year-old little girl who's waiting for her daddy to come home. So I wanted to tell you about something that happened when we were stationed at Fort Benning, Georgia. If you've ever been there, you might know that that's outside of Columbus, and the paper is the Columbus Ledger-Inquirer. So this is back in the day where, you know, people actually read a print paper, which I loved doing. And so I opened the paper. There's a half-page ad that Hal Moore, and that name might sound familiar. Hal Moore in 1965 was a lieutenant colonel. He was the battalion commander of, I don't remember the name. I should know the name of the battalion, but they were in, that was the Ia Drang battle, which was one of the first on the ground battles of the Vietnam War. So at the time Hal Moore was still alive, he was going to do a book signing at the Barnes & Noble, and my husband just looked at me and said, get in the car and go. He just knew that I would be very interested in being there. So I get to the Barnes & Noble, and there's a very, very long line. So there's a lady, she's kind of in charge. She is walking down the line. She's given everybody an index card because she wants us to write down who we want it signed to and what we want said. And then that was going to speed up the process when we got up to the front of the line. So I had a lot of time to think about it, and I was like, ooh, I could give this to my husband. And I was like, I was feeling a little selfish that day. And so then I also thought about my brothers, and I was like, no, I'd really like this copy for myself. So I wrote down to Natalie, whose father paid the ultimate price. And so I get up to the front. Hal Moore was left-handed, and he's a man of very few words. He said 3 words to me. Is this you? And I said yes. So, you know, he went like this, he wrote down some words, handed me the book, and he's on to the next person. So I go to the back of the store, and I open up the book, and he did not do one thing I asked him to do. He wrote down, to Natalie, you will see your father again.
Thank you, Natalie. At this time, we would be remiss if we did not pay homage and recognize all those who served in Vietnam and the Vietnam era, and all the Hawaii Gold Star families. So please, a round of applause for them. Thank you very much. Our final speaker this evening is the man we paid respects to earlier tonight,